What's up, everyone? Today I wanted to make a video on semen retention, sexual transmutation, and Kundalini awakening, how this all ties together. I just made a video on the sacral chakra with a little bit of information about your sacral chakra and how this ties together, and this is a more direct explanation of semen retention. So for all the guys out there, as well as for any women also interested in the subject, and also can be applied in other ways for women too, not the semen retention obviously, but sexual transmutation in general. So when it comes to Kundalini awakening, one of the things we have to realize is this life force energy is locked in our lowest chakras, specifically our root and our sacral chakra, dealing with the sexuality, the life force energy. And as I explained in my other video, which you can check out, the sexual energy is our creative potential. It's our ability to create life. So on a physical level, we need that union of male and female and the sexual fluids and energies, orgasm, to create a child, to create a new life. So what happens then when we decide to sublimate this energy or transmute this, the sexual alchemy, as it's called? And this is when we get into the practice of yoga and of any spirituality. Really, the whole goal, even religion, the whole goal is usually to conquer the lower desires, or to sublimate them and transmute them, purify them into a higher form. So the more that we learn to not suppress, but subdue the desire to, for men, it's to ejaculate, to release the semen excessively. So for all the guys out there, if you're getting on a journey of Kundalini awakening, if you're getting on a spiritual journey in general, and you're having trouble with your sexuality, and maybe you're addicted to pornography, maybe you're just in that habit of seeking, pleasure from women and all these things, and you end up feeling drained, having unfulfilling relationships, or even you're in a relationship and that is like the goal of the relationship. You notice every time you have sex and ejaculate your energy, you feel drained afterwards. You feel this like depletion, like there's something, like I said, especially if you're on the spiritual path, you'll see that your spiritual practices don't have the same energy or effectiveness behind them as to when you're withholding your seed. So this is something that every guy has to do on his journey to some degree. And for us, it was something we gave up about 10 years ago, was pornography and addiction. Being younger, being into that sort of thing, I was lucky to break that at a young age. But I know a lot of guys, no matter, and I'm 27 now, but I know there's a lot of guys younger and older than me that still struggle with that addiction, that can't seem to give up, the addiction to this, over-sexualization. Or maybe you look at, different things on the internet, and that's, your form of like sexual stimulation, and that causes you to go and, masturbate and ejaculate. And this is where we have to learn to see our spirit for what it is, that we are not necessarily this body. We are not necessarily just these desires. And it's not to say you can never have sex, because in Tantra we learn to have sexual union with a partner and that's takes a lot of love and willingness from both partners, because even for the woman's sake, unconsciously they've been over sexualized since birth as well, and it's almost like in their nature to want to draw that out of a man, to draw his power, his sexual power, through making him ejaculate, and that's what is going to please him and all these things. And guys also find that the only way they can have satisfaction is to have this excessive ejaculation, whether it's through pornography, relationships, whatever, I said before. But what if I told you that you could still have sexual experiences if you learn to stop yourself from the ejaculation? This is when we get into like Taoist Tantra, and how, Mantak Chia is a great resource to look into for this, on how you can become multi-orgasmic, how you can learn to have multiple full body orgasms beyond the ejaculation, beyond the physical, just, releasing your seed essentially. And it's not to say that you should never do this or that. I'm not that type of person to tell people what to make their choices. But the more you walk on your spiritual path, the more you'll find that that fleeting ejaculation is depleting, and at most times is not worth the toll it takes on your nervous system from the physical aspect. We could get into the physical aspect, all the vital hormones, the testosterone and other vital hormones, as well as the minerals, zinc, amino acids. All these things are found in the sexual fluid. So if that's stuck in our lowest chakra, in our root and sacral chakra, and we have no way to bring it upwards, to the brain, or we're constantly depleting it, we'll find ourselves being depleted. This is why most people deal with anger, excessive anger, or excessive just lack of drive in life, lack of creative impulse to put it into anything else, is because we're such an over-sexualized culture, and it's keeping us in those lowest chakras. And this is why yoga in all of its forms is so important, or any, spiritual practice for that matter, that is about purifying and raising the energy. Because there's also, there's the dark side that says, oh, do all the sex stuff and release all the time, and, all that sort of, darker side to spirituality. So I'm not saying all practices created equal, because some schools will have a completely different idea. And I'm speaking more from white Tantra, as well as, the Taoist Tantra, which is all about sexual transmutation and alchemizing that energy, preserving the seed as much as possible, as that's your life force energy. And that's also the Kundalini, is the life force energy. So these two energies, or really they're one and the same, but you could also just see that one dimension of Kundalini is in your sexuality, in your sexual fluids. And this is part of the process, is that you have to transmute this energy. You have to be willing to stop these pleasures, or not the pleasures necessarily, but stop seeking it for the pleasure, or the short-term pleasures you get through ejaculation and addiction to all these other things, and finding ways that you can channel this energy higher. So this is why we get into meditation. This is why we chant mantras. When you chant a mantra or a chant, this is actually vibrating the different energy centers in your body, and allowing, especially for your sexual fluid, to rise and to purify and to transmute that energy, or to listen to music that is spiritual, spiritually driven. As so much of the music and media today is, sexually driven. It's about, the lust and the desire and the how many bodies they got and all this sort of thing, which is like fine and dandy if that's what you want to be about. But just understand how that mentality keeps you locked into this lower nature. Whereas spiritual music with lyrics of purity and of love and devotion, especially to God or to Goddess, or to, some form of divinity, even Christian worship music, it's a way of like transmuting this essence and bringing it into a higher form, into the heart, into the higher centers, and then channeling that, letting go of the desire, surrendering the desires to God, to the divine, and allowing the energy to be transmuted higher. Just by thinking differently, you can transmute this energy. Also, your diet is a huge factor in this as well. So say you eat a lot of spicy or stimulating foods, you always need all these sauces and flavors, and especially in the Western and standard American diet, garlic is one of those that overstimulates the sexual impulse. And how much garlic is in like everything nowadays, onions and garlic. And so this is why the yogis recommended a more sattvic diet, or a more vegetarian-based diet, without all the spices and flavors and excess stuff that go into modern food, because sattvic foods purify the mind and body. They give us an energy that is calm and pure and present. Whereas stimulating foods like the rajas, which is, onions and garlic and other foods as well, and to a degree you want to have some balance of all three of these. I'll have to make a video on sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three gunas as well, and also speak on the transcendence of those three gunas, because we can't be divided in any sense. You need all three of these in some degree to just be alive, just to exist in this reality. So it's like, especially if you're in this society where you have to work and you have to have a little bit of that rajas, that activity. We're not all monks sitting in the temples and ashrams just meditating all day and chanting and being in that purest state of always in that highest chakra. So nowadays, in Tantra is one of the most accessible paths for the modern seeker that still lives in the world, and we learn to be within it while still working with the energies that we can. So, I'm not here to say you have to be the highest diet to do this, because some people could be eating a bunch of garlic and stuff and they're totally celibate and on their, sexual discipline and all that stuff. So, what works for you, but watch yourself how certain foods stimulate yourself sexually and energetically. And then you start to see this balance. That's okay, I need to have a balance in my diet, and that can help me purify. So getting rid of the junk foods and the overly spicy foods, especially at nighttime, if you can, and especially if you deal with like wet dreams or anything like that, that force sexual transmutation, and then you're like, oh, the wet dreams come and blah, blah, and all that sort of thing can happen too, just from withholding. So look at the foods you're eating. Try to eat more sattvic foods before bedtime, some cooling, maybe some kefir, or which is, drinkable yogurt, or, cereals and grains and fruits, fresh fruits and vegetables. Have that as your last meal, as something to cool down your system if you have that excess heat, which can cause, the nocturnal emission or a wet dream or whatever. So that can definitely be something to be aware of as well once you do start sublimating this energy. It's like if you don't raise it, it has to come out somehow. Or if it gets overstimulated and aggravated by what you're eating, what you're consuming visually, mentally, and listening to, what you're watching on the internet, all those things can affect this sexual energy and your ability to transmute it higher or not. And lastly, it comes to the importance of yoga, the importance of a practice of moving the energy, whether that's the exercises, the postures, as well as pranayama, the breathing exercises, the mantra, as well as, the mentality of changing our mentality, changing the way we look at the world, changing the way we look at ourselves. And in doing so, we start to purify the subtle channels. We start to purify the chakras and the various energy centers in the body. And this allows the energy naturally to rise. So a yogic path and all of its, the various types of yoga that we can do, from bhakti to raja yoga, hatha yoga, to jnana yoga, even just the studying of the scriptures and of sacred texts, and how this puts your mind into a purified place or a divine place, meditating on different aspects of God, different aspects of goddess, different aspects of divinity. This puts the mind into a higher place and allows the energy also to rise. So all these things go hand in hand when it comes to semen retention. But I also want to put that out there. If you're looking to awaken the Kundalini successfully and to raise it into higher and higher levels, you're going to want to practice retention to some degree or another. And if you do have a partner, you want to learn, like Taoist tantric practices on how you can exchange the Shiva and Shakti, the yin and yang, and in the Taoist system, the yin and yang, the feminine and masculine in principles within each other, and also learn how to withhold ejaculation and extend pleasure. And this also goes, for the woman. It allows you to love her more deeply and also to have much more powerful sexual experiences that aren't just limited to, the physical and then the ejaculation and then it's done. You can extend the practice and go deeper into weaving your energies together and raising your energies as a couple to live more harmoniously as a couple. So definitely a lot of points in this video. I don't want to make it too long because I really wanted to just bring up the subject of retention and how it has changed my life drastically to live this way. And I'm a young guy. I definitely have my growth to still go there on the journey, but knowing that it's one of the things that has helped me the most, and one of the things that I've been able to stay consistent with in that time span, it will change your life. It will also change the quality of your yoga practice and your devotion and your chanting. So even if you can just, if it's something you're frequently ejaculating every day, try just a few days, try to last a week even. And if you do so, you will get to that place where you start to feel more energy. You'll start to get more sensitive. You'll be more keen and aware. You may even be able to pick up on subconscious and etheric information. You may be able to, read energy, read people's energy differently, read your environment's energy differently. You'll start to feel different electrical impulses within the body as you cultivate this energy. And the more you can do that, the more you can grow on a spiritual level as well. So I just want to offer this to anyone that is out there. Either you're struggling with it, or it's something that you're interested in, but you've never really put the discipline, the practice to it. Definitely do your best to get on that. And we have chants on our video, mantras you can use to help you in your practice, as well as if you'd like to get a session with us, you can email us at bretz190, and I'd be happy to give you detail, a full practice of yoga, the different aspects, different limbs, all together, personalized to you. And we could also, even if it's something you struggle with, I could talk to you about this, and we could go deeper on how to, help that and to replace certain habits that you may have with new ones. That's what yoga is all about. It's about bringing in good, and sometimes to bring in good, we have to let go of things that aren't serving. So that's part of the path as well, is letting go and being detached from certain physical experiences to raise that energy into a higher spiritual experience, into a higher dimension or spiritual dimension of experience. So if you have any comments, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Once again, you can reach out for personalized yoga lessons, Reiki healing, or just to talk deeper on these subjects. And I'd be happy to be there for you with my experience and, just to be a support for you on your path and your journey. So lots of love. Stay tuned for more. We'll have lots more videos coming, and lots of love. Peace.